This activity is called Make a Choice, and the purpose of this activity is to show your kids how to make choices in life based on God's rules of loving God and loving people. Your kids are going to listen to situations read by you, the teacher. Then they're going to decide if that situation demonstrates loving God, whether it demonstrates loving people, or not loving God, or not loving people. They're going to run to the appropriate labeled area of the room. Now, as an option, you could instruct your kids to move to those areas in different ways. For example, they could walk in slow motion, or they could crab walk, or walk like a certain type of animal. And then once your kids get to that area of the room, you're going to discuss why that situation belonged where they said it does. So for this activity, you're going to need your help sheet, the Make a Choice labels, lesson 2. There'll be 4 of these. One says loving God, one says loving people, one says not loving God, one says not loving people. And then you're going to need the situations that are on your help sheet. Now, mix up the situations because they're all in categories as you go through it, so the kids are always moving to different areas. Okay? Do the activity something like this. All right, guys, today we've been talking about when we are on God's team, He wants us to follow His instructions. So everybody stand up. As we learn in our skit in our Bible story, what are the 2 rules that if we follow, we'll pretty much be able to obey every rule in the Bible? What did Jesus say they were?
Love God.
Love God and?
Love people.
Exactly. Love God and love others. Love people. All right? So I've got some situations because sometimes in real life, it's kind of hard to know what to do, which rules to obey. So I'm going to read this. I want you guys to either go to, that sounds like that's loving God, or that sounds like that's loving people, not loving God, or not loving people. Let me give you an example. Here we go. I have 10 minutes before I have to go to bed. I could read my Bible and pray, or I could play video games. I choose to play video games. Is that loving God, loving people, not loving people, or not really loving God? All right, you all said not loving God. Tell me why that situation is not loving God.
We should put God first.
Instead of, okay, good. Exactly. So if we have some time and we know, I didn't read my Bible today, and we choose to ignore God and go do something else, that's not showing love to God. Okay? So we're obviously breaking one of His instructions. Back to the center. Here's another one. How about, I have a soccer tournament on Sunday. I choose to go to church instead of playing soccer. Loving God, not loving God, loving people, not loving people. Okay, loving God, why?
Well, because that's putting God first.
Okay, so instead of skipping church and going to soccer, say, you know what, God's important in my life, more important than soccer, and church is important to God, so I'm going to go to church. Okay, very good. Back to the center. Here's another one. My mom tells me to take out the trash before I play outside. I stop what I'm doing and I take out the trash. Loving people, not loving people, loving God, not loving God. You guys are pretty good at this. All right, loving people, you all said that. Why? Why is that loving people?
Because your mom asked you to do something and you were obedient and did what she asked.
Okay, very good. So you're showing obedience to your mom, which shows them love when you obey them. Okay, very good. All right, let me do one more here. I can see my little brother needs some help with his homework. I could help him out, or I could make fun of him. I choose to make fun of him and run out of the room laughing.
Oh.
Loving God, loving people, not loving God, not loving people. All right, why is that? Not loving people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
You're
is.
supposed to encourage people. You're not supposed to make fun of them.
Okay, so that's not, when you do something to make fun of somebody, that's not really showing them love, is it?
No.
All right, go ahead and sit down. All right, there's about 3 or 4 situations for each one of those, and you can just do as many as your time allows. All right, so what have we been learning today? The 2 greatest instructions that Jesus gives us are?
Love God.
To love God.
And love people.
And love people. Which is interesting, because if we do follow those 2 rules, just about everything that we do in life will fall under that. We always need to remember that God wants us to love others and love Him. And if we do that, we will keep all of His instructions.